This is Spencer Dutton, and this is his older brother, John Dutton, who you can be forgiven for forgetting about because he died in Season 1, Episode 3 during this scene. Man, that was like 2+ real years ago. Fans of 1883 and 1923 know they had an older sister named Elsa who's been narrating this show. She died 40 Yellowstone years ago, which at first was a little strange, but now it works, so we all just kind of forgot about it. To begin this video, I want to zoom in on her most important bit of dialogue. She said something at the very start of this series in December 2022 that has been the cornerstone for everything that follows, except I think we got it wrong. After that, why everyone thinks things are only going to get worse for Alexandra, and what we can expect from Spencer Dutton in episode 5, titled Only Gunshots to Guide Us. Staff at tasteofcountry.com, or just drop a note below if you want to join the conversation, because at the end of this video, it's more of your questions, comments, and conspiracy theories, including one that is so plausible and so chilling, my Dutton Rules podcast co-host Addison Hager was left speechless. But first, here's Elsa providing a map for us.
My father had 3 children. Only one would live to see their own children grown. Only one would carry the fate of this family through the Depression and every other hell the 20th century hurled at them.
So this is sort of a core statement, right? Father is James Dutton, played by Tim McGraw. He has 3 kids as discussed, but only one would live long enough to see his own kids grow up. That'd be John, who has an older son named Jack. However, the next line, that only one would live long enough to see his family through the Great Depression, can't be John because he's dead. So Spencer is the one who lives long enough to see his children grown, etc., etc. The problem is, he doesn't have kids, but anyone who thinks he becomes the father to Dabney Coleman's John Dutton believes that because of this speech. That's why Alex's pregnancy and the potential that she lost the baby is so interesting and or confusing. There she is at the start of episode 4, getting mugged by the Alabaster Man.
Were you the fat lip?
I was rot.
What did he take?
He took everything.
What if we got what Elsa said wrong? Listen again.
My father had 3 children. Only one would live to see their own children grown. Only one would carry the fate of this family through the Depression and every other hell the 20th century hurled at them.
Nowhere does she describe those people as the same person, so it's possible that one sibling, John, lived to see his children grown, and one sibling, Spencer, lived long enough to see his family through the Great Depression. I've always thought she meant the same person did both, but the further we get down the line, the less I think that's true, especially because Alex seems to think she lost the baby a mere 90 seconds after the attack. And that love story between her and Spencer, it just seems too good to be true in a Taylor Sheridan drama. See Elsa and Sam from 1883. Of course, this means the baby that's in Elizabeth's belly would need to be born without disaster, and that seems like a big maybe. No way we'll find out more about that this week. It's very possible that Alex's journey will only get worse from here, and that's not just me talking. Actor Julia Schlafer talked to TV Line and literally said that Alex hasn't hit the worst of it. Go ahead and find a link to our interview with Julia below. She told the Dutton Rules podcast a really amazing Harrison Ford story that still has us cracking up. Slowly, so slowly, she's making her way to Montana, where in a perfect world she'll reunite with Spencer, who is also traveling by train, or at least he was.
Everybody's gotta pay.
Even you?
Not me.
What makes you so special?
I'm the tax collector.
I loved this scene, and I finally figured out who played the tax collector. I wish I took a screenshot so I could give flowers to the person on YouTube who tipped me off, but the tax collector's character name is Isaac, and he's played by actor Micah Fitzgerald. Here he is on set with Brendan Sklenner.
Feel that steel to your neck down. I don't care how fast you think you are. You ain't that fast.
Yeah, that doesn't go well for him. I think this could actually be a relatively slow Spencer up until the very end. He's likely to finally meet up with Marshal Mamie Fawcett, and we'll get that scene from the official trailer that I've been leaning on for weeks. My big bold prediction for this week is at the end, he'll cross paths with this woman. This week's poll question was, do you think Spencer and Teyona will finally cross paths? And nearly 80% of participants said, yes, absolutely. Quote, hasn't that been the plot line from the start, says @ChewOnThis. Meh, debatable. This really started to come into view once Spencer landed in Galveston and we realized he's been tracing his father, James Dutton's trip north to Montana. Teyona had been hanging out around Amarillo, but now that Marshall Kent has her poster up literally everywhere, it's time for her to hit the road. All signs point to Marshall Fawcett also intersecting with Teyona, and we know that she is more than skeptical of Kent and Father Reynaud's plans. Add in Spencer, who just proved he's here to help the marginalized, and you get why people believe they'll intersect. My even bolder prediction is that he arrives just in time to save Teyona's life. Maybe he even kills Father Reynaud. I fear Pete and her father runs his horse may not make it, but Teyona has to get to Mexico. Yellowstone fans may recall that's where Thomas Rainwater's ancestors were from, and for the first part of his life he was led to believe he was Mexican. Teyona's last name is, of course, Rainwater. Quick sidebar, if this does play out like I predicted, look at the list of the people looking to hunt down Spencer. You have the Texas Mafia, a Fort Worth sheriff, a Catholic church, U.S. Marshals. I mean, dude has made a ton of enemies. Q&A is next, and it's there you'll learn about a very popular, very dark theory on what's to come for Alexandra. Not gonna spoil it yet, other than to say it almost makes too much sense. Last week we were introduced to the concept of the train station.
Right there, they've recorded a county with no township. All of this is still owned by the government. It's a county with a population of 0. There is no judge, there is no sheriff, which is to say, there is no crime.
This week, we're almost guaranteed to see the first body thrown off the edge. We now know that's Don's sex slave, Christy, wrapped up and rolling down the hill. Expect the slow squeeze that Whitfield's putting on the Duttons to intensify this week. In fact, I think we'll be on the brink of war very soon. Every Thursday, we take time to answer the best of your questions, comments, and conspiracy theories sent below, or to staff@tasteofcountry.com. My Dutton Rules podcast co-host Addison Hager is here to help me with that now. Who's up first, Addison?
All right, the first one is from Jerry on X, who says, I think Alex will be Whitfield's next new girl to replace the dead one. Oh, that's interesting.
So I also got Michelle on YouTube saying the same thing, and they're not alone. This is maybe like one of the leading conspiracy theories. Alex training into Montana. Lindy's got to go to town to get a new girl, right? Because Whitfield told her to. What if those paths intersect?
Uh-huh.
The problem is, right now, Alex is headed to Billings, and Lindy's presumably in Bozeman. So, you know, that's a fair distance apart. Like, I don't know necessarily that they would get there, but I do believe there's going to be some sort of Whitfield and Alex. I don't know if I believe it. I wouldn't be surprised if it happens. Like Whitfield and Alex somehow know each other, or they interact, or there's some sort of, like, Spencer has to defend her and save her. Like, I feel like there could be something there. But the new theory is that they kidnap Alex and try to make her the new sex slave.
I'm going to marinate on that one and continue.
You do not like that. You do not.
I don't
like that.
love that, but interesting that a lot of people feel that way.
Yeah.
The next one I have for us is from James, who says, now that 75% of 1923 is over, in which episode do you think Spencer and Alex arrive at the Yellowstone, and will they arrive in the same episode? I honestly don't think we're going to see Alex and Spencer arrive until episode 8, the last episode. But I think Spencer, well, I think he arrives last. I don't think they arrive together.
I think 6 for Spencer, 7 for Alex.
Ooh, okay.
That's my
So
prediction.
then 8, we have time to marinate with them together?
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
The next one from YouTube says, what do we think is going to happen to Jacob and Kara at the end of the season? I feel like people have only been talking about the fate of all the characters. Do we think they're going to live?
No, I don't think Jacob's going to live.
Oh, okay.
I think Kara may, but I think one of them will die.
Wow.
In that battle, in that fight scene. Yeah, they are almost non-main characters, which is super interesting because they're the the biggest.
They're huge stars.
Exactly. But he's right. It's been they've been a little bit more scenery in a lot of ways so far this season. I think one dies.
2 more for us. British expat 5862 says, I'm going to say something controversial, but I think Jack dies, and all this will it be Alex or Spencer who doesn't make it to us look away from Jack.
Yeah, kind of confusing verbiage there.
I was like, that was a lot of
needed a comma, but he's saying that all the focus on Alex and Spencer is making us look away from Jack, when really it's Jack who's going to be the one who dies.
Yeah.
This has been a light Jack season, right?
No, I agree. He's just kind of there.
He is. And we haven't really even hypothesized what his role would be beyond this season. So, controversial? I don't know if it's controversial. Yeah, interesting. That's a new take. I hadn't really thought about that. But definitely possible. Making us look away from him, and then boom, he hits the tragedy. He certainly wants to be a part of that big battle, so there's going to be an opportunity for him to get killed.
The last one I have for us is from He-Man 70525, who says, as much as BD, which is Billy Dukes for those who might not know, wants to see how the family tree plays out, I'm excited at all the possibilities we see the brand come into play, or the sporting club that Casey refers to in season 4.
So far we don't have the Yellowstone brand, right? There's no big Y on the barn yet, is there? Maybe there is.
Was branding as much a thing back then? I don't know.
So.
Okay.
I think so. Yeah, I think what he's getting at is that the excited to kind of see like how the path to how the Yellowstone Ranch becomes sort of like this dominant force in Paradise Valley. And even if the brand's real, it's not a strong brand yet.
Right.
How we get there. And I think the way we get there is that at the end of this, Jacob Dutton ends up with more than he has right now. Somehow he acquires some of Donald Whitfield's assets at the end of this. But how that happens isn't clear. You know what's interesting about Jacob Dutton is he doesn't like John Dutton. Kevin Costner had like a grit to him, like where he did bad things and you understood it in his character. Whereas Jacob Dutton seems a little bit kind of at times goofy and fun and silly. It's hard to imagine him doing some of the evil things that John Dutton did later on down the road. But I think he probably will at some point.
No, I agree. He seems a little bit more tender.
I guess he did try to hang Banner. That wasn't very tender.
He did try to murder someone, but...
Yeah, but he failed. Well, he killed the other 4 guys, but he failed at Banner.
Staff@tasteofcountry.com is where you can also always leave your comments, thoughts, concerns, suggestions, conspiracy theories, also on our YouTube channel, on our videos. And you could be talked about on one of our episodes.
Big thanks to everyone who has supported these weekly 1923 recaps and preview videos. There's more to come, including interviews with stars like Julia Schlaepfer. In fact, I dropped a link to that interview right here. I'm Billy Dukes for Taste of Country. Thanks for watching, and thanks for subscribing.